Pretty straightforward. You get automatic admits, get automatic rejects, and you get what's the whole category. The whole category is where these other criteria become particularly important. Because what they have said is we've automatically accepted this group of people. Now, what happens is those people get their letter of acceptance and they're given 2 weeks or a month to decide whether to accept or not. If they accept, then that's fine. But if they say, no, I'm going to go somewhere else, or I'm not going, then they come back to the holds category and take the first name off the list, work your way down. If you get a letter saying you're in the hold category, you don't know where you're on. You don't know if you're first on a list of 500 or you're number 500. Just have to wait. Now what they do is they usually cut it off in June now, because of the necessity that you have to be able to get your financial affairs in order, loans, whatever it is, so they have to stop. Previously, I had students who went to Mercer. Mercer used to be a law school that had either 87 or 88 openings in their freshman class every year. I had a student got called on a Friday night. This is Dean so-and-so from Mercer. Registration closes in 10 minutes. Do you want to come? Here's the conditions. You're going to be here on Monday, and you're going to have a check for your tuition. And he said, you hang up, I move to the next person on the list. And he went, but I think it was very difficult for him, because this was back when the stock market had taken a dive. So some rich uncles who said they had a lot of money weren't quite so certain. But the point is, if you get a whole category, don't take that as defeat yet. You know, because that means you were good enough to at least. See, here's the problem with law schools. They have, of the 4,000 applications they get, probably 3,000 of those people could go to law school with no difficulty and do well. They're picking among plenty. That's why these other criteria become so important, because that's how you move yourself off the pile, become more important. Changes. There's something called evaluation service. This is where you are evaluated by an individual on 30 individual attributes and skills in 6 categories, including intellectual skill, personal qualities, integrity and honesty, communications, task management, working with others. This is another one of LSAC's travesties. They're trying to pretend this is a small liberal arts school where you got 150 students in your program, and you know every one of them, and you've had multiple contacts with them both in various organizational activities on campus, which is liberal arts schools are good at, and in class. At UCF, you're going to find very few faculty who are able to make this evaluation. That's why law schools, normally if they want it, they usually ask for the letters of reference. This is something they may ask. If they do, you're going to have to be really certain about these faculty being willing to do it. I had one student who didn't talk to me and just announced to me that, oh, you're going to get a thing to evaluate him. I said, no, I'm not. Sorry. I don't know you that well. And based on what you just did to me, I'm not sure about your integrity and honesty. Because they do want you, they assume you've talked to the person, and everybody knows you're going to do this. You know, don't pick a letter writer who doesn't say he doesn't want to do it. For some reason, letters aren't good. Financial assistance. Woo, now we'll get to the fun part. A few scholarships, most of them are decided by the law school. Here's where you got to be careful. Most of the scholarships that come from private schools are tuition waivers. We're charging $23,000 in tuition. We're going to give you a check for $10,000. So you only pay $13,000. What a deal. Well, it is a deal if you're looking at paying $23,000. But the problem is, to get that scholarship the second year, you got to have above a 3.0. And there's the trap. Law schools grade very differently than undergraduate institutions. Getting a 3.0 is done, but if you did, you're probably, what was the high, you were the high one at FSU, what were your GPA?
3.6, I think.
And you were number one, weren't you?
Yeah.
He was number one in his class, with 3.6. Over here at graduation at UCF, he wouldn't even get on the platform. He'd be recognized as one of the top ranking people. So the point I'm making is, don't make the decision entirely on what you're going to get if you get a scholarship offer for one that says you get it for this year, then you can get it second, third year. Maybe you're the person that's going to be the 3.6, and you're going to roll right through, save yourself $30,000. And that's very attractive, I understand that. But be aware that may mean that you go to a school that may not be your best option. Because when you go to law school, you need to go to the best school you can get into. Why? Because that helps you get a job. And that's the key of all this. Law school's another $90,000 to $150,000 tacked on to whatever else you've been spending for education. And a lot of you are going to be borrowing most of that money. And so you really get pretty bad. Student loans are self-funding. Do not expect to work during the first year of law school. Many law schools have a flat prohibition. You work, you're gone. Violation of honor code. Plus, as I said before, they give you your schedule. You're going to be here at 7:30 Monday through Friday, and your last class ends at 5:30 in the evening. Well, what do you do with the day? Well, you're in the law school, you're in the library, you should be studying with your study group. That first semester, you're going to be in classes with the same people a lot. The next day, you're going to allow to sleep in. Your next class until 8 o'clock on Tuesday, Thursday. Now they don't do it anymore. They used to do Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. You know, so you know the leisurely days of I don't do anything before noon. Get over it. You're either there or you're not. It's reality. And they don't want you working because what they're doing, to use a very tired metaphor, which one I like though, it's Marine boot camp without the haircut. They want to change how you think. And that first year is your socialization experience is most intense. People go in and you come back out, you talk funny.
You know, your second, third year, you often will be permitted to work. It just depends on where the law school is located as to whether or not you'll have a job opportunity. But that first year, I don't know any reputable law school that doesn't have that policy. It's just pretty much uniform throughout the country.
Now, people who go to Gainesville have a problem. Location. So sometimes students in Gainesville who go to Tampa. It's not bad, just straight down I-75 in the rush hour. And that's a really terrible way to have to go. But point out, you know, you got to assume that you're there. This is what makes it hard on your family if you take one. Because you're locked into the law school in a way that you're not locked into UCF. Yep.
Right now, if we're choosing to work while we're at UCF, would it be better to work for like a law firm or something like that, or does it matter if we're working as a server somewhere?
No.
Do they care?
Make as much money as you can because you're going to need it for a long time.
You pick the job that gets you the best bang for your buck. And the reason why I say that is, if you go to a lot of internships and things like you're a runner doing that, you're a big fancy law firm, you're not necessarily going to go to those when you get out. And although I have had a number of students go to do those kind of jobs thinking that they'll help, what it did, it convinced them not to be a lawyer. You know, they didn't like what they didn't like. You know, it's better to know that before you go.
Yeah, that is an advantage. At least you will know whether you do, but you know, you need to make the money, and it's probably not going to. The one thing I would say, if you've done an internship and you work with someone where you've done work that shows that you can write and think critically and all that stuff, that person might be a good person to write a letter of recommendation along with a couple of professors, particularly if that individual was a graduate of the law school you want to go to and might donate, you know, some of these firms to senior partner. If you got to work for senior partner Lance Drozdik and he went to Florida, went to Duke, you know, those things all, but that's not the norm. That's kind of, you know.
I don't want to skip over the last item here. You've got to have good credit. A number of students have ended up not going to law school right away, which is not in and of itself a big deal. They did it because they had takes time to fix their credit, paying debt past debts and paying off debts, because the loans you're gonna get are gonna cover your living expenses and tuition. And the loan usually comes through the law school, so they get the tuition part out first, and then you give them this limp little check to spend the rest of the year living. My son, when he went to law school, learned to eat spaghetti, but it wasn't spaghetti with Prego or any of those other things. Spaghetti with tomato sauce. He ate that 4 times a week. So that, but good credit is critical, because you're gonna have that to borrow what is gonna be maybe the largest debt you'll see, aside if you buy a house. It's on the cradle point. And that, you know, that's a tough thing for people. If you got a lot of debt as an undergraduate, it may behoove you to get set up, pass your courses, get your LSAT score. If you got a good one, great, you can sit on that. It's good for 4 or 5 years, and work for a couple of years to pay off your undergraduate debts. You do that, you know, you'll go to law school, much better shape.